I'm a female writer, and what's interesting about the wizarding world is when you take physical strength out of the equation, a woman can fight just the same as a man can fight. A woman can do magic just as powerfully as a man can do magic. And I consider that I've written a lot of well-rounded female characters in these books. As an author, none of the women ever gave me trouble, actually. It was always the men that gave me trouble, never the women. But Harry came to me as Harry, and I never wanted to change that. Because switching gender isn't simply putting a dress and a pretty name on a boy, is it? A lot of preoccupations and expectations are different on men and women, and so the books would have been incredibly different, I think.
Considering the protagonist is a male, I don't think it was so obvious at the beginning that she very much wanted to portray her female characters as very strong-willed and sort of admirable. But as the films went on, I think you can really see it.
It's interesting for me with Harry because throughout the series he is so much a boy in search of a father. And yet, at these times of real stress, it's his mother that's a place of refuge. And I think that it's not very hard to see the reason why. My mother died 6 months into the writing of Harry Potter, and I became a mother to a daughter. So I just suppose that as a woman and as a daughter, maybe I feel that that's a form of love that doesn't get explored as much as it should do, given that it's it's so formative in everyone's life, for good or for ill. Funnily enough, I founded a charity called Lumos, which is about institutionalized children, largely in Eastern Europe. And some of the many disturbing things I found out from being involved closely with that charity is how much measurable brain damage is done when a child is taken from its mother and placed in an institution. And when I say measurable, you can scan the brain and you will see that pathways haven't been made, and you can never get that back. So in fact, what I wrote about Harry having been incredibly loved in his earliest days is measurably true. That will literally have given him protection that no one can undo. His brain will have developed in a way that Voldemort's brain didn't, because Voldemort was, from the moment of his birth, institutionalized. So I suppose, yeah, Lily was representative of safety in a way that a father couldn't be, because he's constantly told, you look just like your father, he's got to live up to the expectations of his father, his father, his father. But Lily is something different. Lily's the person who stood by the cot and tried to stop her baby dying.
Harry, Mama loves you. Harry, be safe.
So yes, mother love is hugely important in the books.
Fred, you next. He's not Fred, I am. Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother. Oh, I'm sorry, George.
I just think it's so cool that Jo has Mrs. Weasley and really kind of like pays homage to this incredible mother figure and how key her role is in keeping that family together, to her taking care of Harry, and, you know, the whole of Dumbledore's army, really.
Thank goodness you two are all right.
Apart from the three main characters, of course, Harry and Ron and Hermione, Mrs. Weasley is the greatest force for good, I think, in it. She's the mother of that world. And I think that is very female.
Action! Yeah! What impressed me with Julie was you always had the sense, I felt, that this wasn't just this warm and cosy 1950s housewife pottering around her kitchen. There was some real steel in there. Now, you could say there would have to be steel in the woman who raised Fred and George, otherwise you would go start stirring mad. However, it was totally plausible for me when she stepped forward in the Great Hall and thought, right, you bitch, you're getting yours. And you thought, yeah, she is about to get hers. Bellatrix messed with the wrong woman.
Not my daughter, you bitch. It comes from her womb, that feeling of defence, defending her child. She's already lost one. So it's the mother, you know, the lion, the female lion or tiger defending her babies, you know. So it's unstoppable, which is wonderful.
Because that's good, because it's a mother really going for it, which is great.
I doubt if that probably would have taken place had it been a man writing it.
I really enjoyed killing Bellatrix, and I really enjoyed having it be Molly that did it. And of course, you also have two very different kinds of female energy. They're pitted against each other. You have Molly, who will mother the whole world if she can, and you have Bellatrix, whose idea of love is very perverse and twisted, and that was satisfying. But there was something else I wanted to do with the way that Bellatrix ended. And this was very important to me. Very early on in writing the series, I remember a female journalist saying to me that Mrs. Weasley said, well, you know, she's just a mother. And I was absolutely incensed by that comment. Now, I consider myself to be a feminist, and I'd always wanted to show that just because a woman has made a choice, a free choice, to say, well, I'm going to raise my family, and that's going to be my choice. I may go back to a career, I may have a career part-time, but that's my choice. Doesn't mean that that's all she can do. And as we proved there in that little battle, Molly Weasley comes out and proves herself the equal of any warrior on that battlefield. And I also loved that Professor McGonagall got her moment to really show what she could do.
Pier totum locomotor!
Teachers have been so repressed in how they see Hogwarts, obviously from its new sort of ruling, that you can see that they're just itching for you know, their fight back against evil. And I love that for Professor McGonagall. She just completely just shows what she's made of.
I don't like the marginalisation of women when the fighting breaks out. You know, we get to fight too. I really wanted that. In fact, there was an earlier draft. I know there was, at one point, it was Harry who took on Snape in that confrontation, and I really didn't want that to happen. In the book, Minerva McGonagall is the one who does it, and for me it was very important that she did that. I felt that you know, I had a lot of fully fledged members of the Order of the Phoenix who were female and who were fighting alongside the men, and I really needed to show some female Death Eaters. And Bellatrix is the female Death Eater par excellence.
Bellatrix is not a great advertisement for prison, if this is what it's done to her. But she is doing everything for Voldemort, and she follows him over the precipice like a lemming.
There's an interesting thing, isn't there, about female psychopaths? They often need to meet a male counterpart to release that part of themselves, and that's how I see Bellatrix.
She is the only true follower, I think Bellatrix thinks. You know, she went to Azkaban, but she's prepared to die. So she's pretty convinced by his supremacy and his superiority and his worthiness.
I mean, Voldemort clearly is her idol, her obsession. He is the only person to whom she feels subservience. She has that curious personality disorder or quirk or whatever we're going to call it, that I think is peculiarly female, and Helena portrays that with such gusto. It's fabulous to watch. However, it's my strong feeling that of the two sisters, Narcissa and Bellatrix, Narcissa is a much more decent person.
It's interesting that J.K. Rowling decided to do that. She decided that the woman that would risk her own life to save her own son understands loyalty and understands preservation of life.
I think one could argue that Draco, who is ultimately revealed not to be an evil character, Draco got his goodness from his mother. And ultimately, there's an echo of what Lily did, quite a conscious echo of what Lily did right at the start of the story, at the very end of the story. At the start of the story, Lily dies to keep her son alive. At the end of the story, Harry lies pretending to be dead on the ground, and it's her mother who saves him again, because she's trying to get to her own son. So that was that was closing a circle. He was saved there by Lily, and he's saved there by Narcissa.
Is he alive? Draco, is he alive?
I do strongly express my worldview in the books.
Dead.
One of the things I find most revolting in life is self-righteousness that covers self-interest. And that was Umbridge from beginning to end. And she's actually quite as sadistic as Bellatrix, but under, you know, it's all justified because I work for the Ministry. So, horrible woman.
She has this kind of like horrible double side to her, whereas on the outside she's all fluffiness and pinkness and niceness and ugh, and then on the inside she's just evil, just like pure evil. Yes?
Nothing.
That's right. Because you know, deep down, you deserve to be punished. Don't you, Mr. Potter?
I think this is just making the most of what really little power she has, but she will hang on to it and keep clearing people out as long as she can, her last breath.